And I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate Vivek sir first. And we all as ICF members, I know we all are very proud, super proud to be associated with ICF. And I wish a lot more feats in the coming years. So, your best of luck, Vivek sir. And I also see a lot of familiar faces, as I was saying, and it's always good to see people who you know, who you've worked with, who you've learned so much from, my seniors from all the organizations I've worked with. So thank you everyone for making time. For those of you who don't know me, I'll share a bit about myself. My name is Malovika Chakravarti. I'm a book editor by profession and a rock painter by passion. And my journey in the world of publishing started in 2010 when I walked into an interview that was being conducted by Vivek sir for the position of a trainee copy editor. And all I remember from that interview is that at the end of the face-to-face interview round, Vivek sir had told me, Malavika, you have the potential to be a good editor. And that was a huge motivation for someone like me who was just entering the industry. And Vivek sir, I can't thank you enough for the continuous motivation you have provided throughout all these years I've known you. From that day to this day, it has been 10 years for me in the publishing industry, and I worked across a range of roles. Started as a copy editor, then moved to development editing, then to acquisitions and portfolio management, which is my current role now. And I've had the opportunity to work with reputed publishing houses like Oxford University Press, HarperCollins, and now Pearson. So that was a bit about my professional journey. Now to share a bit about my passion, that is painting rocks. How it started was a couple of years ago. I was just, scrolling through Pinterest, and I came across these images of beautiful, colorful hand-painted rocks. And I got really inspired to try out that myself. I painted a couple of rocks, and it just gave me so much happiness to see the otherwise plain rocks turn into something beautiful. These little pieces of art that I kept at it, and I kept painting rocks. So after a while, I also started giving them away as gifts to my friends and family, as opposed to store-bought options. And I could see that, it's not only giving me happiness, but it's also bringing joy to the people I give them to an extent that some of my friends approached me and asked if I would paint a couple of pieces extra for them, and they would be willing to pay for those. That is how the idea behind my small business venture came to me. It's called Ems Rocks, and we've been operational for the past 1 year now. In the last 1 year, we've painted more than 150 customized and commissioned art pieces on rocks. And I'm also super proud to be able to contribute to bring people joy. Spreading joy one rock at a time is our motto. And we hope to continue to do that as long as people love our rocks. It's also a sustainable gifting option. So that was a bit about me. Now, without taking much more time, I will come straight to the agenda of this session, that is personal finance. I've put together a couple of slides, and I'll just start sharing my screen. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. Is it visible?
Yes.
Yes, Malovika.
So yes, I'll just start presenting. Okay, thank you. So guys, I've named this session an introduction to financial planning. And at the heart of a financial planning session would be a financial plan, right? So what exactly is a financial plan? There are two basic elements to a financial plan. The first one is clearly defined financial goals. And the second element is a roadmap to achieve those goals. It is as simple as that. There is no complexity whatsoever to a financial plan. It is just these two basic steps. And why should we have a financial plan? If I were to explain that in simple words, I'd try giving this analogy. Let's say I want to go on a trip to a destination I have never traveled to before, and I decide to just start on the trip without doing any sort of preparation, without planning, or without even carrying a map. So will I reach my destination? I might or I might not. If I'm very lucky, I'll reach, but more chances that I might not. So do I really want to leave it up to chance? Is it not better that I prepare ahead, plan, and absolutely carry a map should I need to refer to it? So that is similar to having a financial plan. If I want to reach somewhere financially, if I don't have a financial plan, it becomes difficult for me to reach or to make my dreams come true, whatever aspirations I might have. A financial plan just makes it very easier for me to achieve those. Also, I'd like to note here that a financial plan has to be fluid, guys, because we all grow, we evolve as people. So my goals and dreams might also change as I evolve as a person, as time passes. So my financial plan has to be fluid so that I can tweak it, I can change it, make adjustments to suit my goals, my dreams, and my aspirations of that time. So reviewing a financial plan is also very important, and we must do it at least once a year. Go back to the plan that we had prepared and see that if it is still in alignment with our life, right? So that is what a financial plan is. Now, as we discussed, that financial plan, the first element of a financial plan is having specific financial goals. We can categorize our financial goals under 3 buckets. First would be short-term goals. These would be goals that are 1 to 2 years away. That's why short-term. For example, I want to buy a car in another 2 years, and I need to put together a sum, an amount of money for that. So that's a short-term financial goal for me. Medium-term goals would be goals that are 3 to 5 years away. And an example for this would be if I have a child who's in middle school, and I want to put together corpus for my child's higher education, which is 3 to 5 years away. So that would be a medium-term goal for me. And the third bucket is long-term goals. Any goal that is 5 to 10 or even more than 10 years away would fall under this bucket, long-term goals. An example could be planning for my retirement. So I'm 33 years old today. If I plan to retire by, say, 60, then I have so many years at hand to plan for my retirement corpus. So planning for my retirement corpus for me would be then a long-term goal. These are the 3 main buckets. Now, each of these goals can further be categorized into either a negotiable goal or a non-negotiable. To give an example of a negotiable goal, let me again take, I want to buy a car in another 2 years. But let's suppose due to whatsoever reasons, I am not able to accumulate the corpus I need in 2 years. So it's okay for me to delay the purchase. I can go for it after 6 months, after a year. So from 2 years, I make it a 3-year goal. That's negotiable, okay? What would be a non-negotiable goal? Something for which I must have the money ready by the time that I have planned. For example, if it's about my child's higher education, then I know that this is the year that I will need the money. And it is absolutely non-negotiable. I must have the money by that time because I cannot delay my child's education by a couple of years. That's absolutely non-negotiable. So these are the various ways we categorize our financial goals. It is important to know which goal falls under which category, why, so that we can look at the relevant instrument of investment that we can use to reach there. Also, guys, another thing to note here is that the financial goals should be SMART. Now, what are SMART goals? As this infographic shows us here, every word in SMART means something. Every letter in SMART means something. The letter S stands for specific. Now, what do I mean by a specific goal? Say again, if I say I want to buy a car, that is not a specific goal. if I revise my goal and say, I want to buy a car in the next 2 years and I need a corpus of 5 lakh rupees, that is a specific goal, right? So I know that my goal is to buy a car. How much corpus do I need? So I've designated a corpus of 5 lakh rupees for that goal. And I've also given it a time horizon that I'm giving myself 2 years to accumulate the corpus. So that is how we formulate specific goals. M stands for measurable, which means that I must have a system to measure my progress. Where I was last month vis-a-vis where I am today. Have I made any progress towards my goal, towards achieving my goal? So that's measurable. The third and fourth letters are A, achievable, and R, realistic. Now, say, given my current income, my current earnings and savings, I'm able to put aside 10,000 rupees. This is just an example, guys, okay? So let's say I'm able to put aside 10,000 rupees per month for a specific goal, or that is the extra money that I have that I can, put towards accumulating a corpus for my goal. But I aim to accumulate 1 crore rupees in 1 year. So that is not a realistic goal. At least not until I substantially increase my income. So I hope this bit is clear, that the goal should be achievable as well as realistic. If we make it too lofty or too difficult for us to even achieve, there is no point in making such a financial goal. So we should keep it achievable and realistic. And the last letter is T, which is time. And we've already discussed that if we give a time horizon to our goal, it makes it specific as well as timely. So how many years do I have, for reaching that goal? How many years am I giving myself to accumulate that corpus? So once we've decided on what our financial goals are, what should be the next step, guys? We begin investing, right? But before we discuss investing, before we even talk about it, there is another thing that I'd like to discuss with you all today. If I want my financial plan to be robust and stand the test of time, I must support it with some very strong foundation. And I'll call it pillars of financial security for the purpose of the presentation today. What are these pillars? Let us look at them one by one. The first pillar would be my emergency fund. And this is a no-brainer. Why is an emergency fund even required? Because an emergency can strike anytime, right? It can happen to anyone, anytime. So as an example, it can be a sudden job loss for people like me who are salaried individuals, or it can be any other event in my life which causes my incoming or my income to get blocked for a significant period of time. At that time, if I have an emergency fund handy, I can use that to tide through the difficult period till I generate some new sources of income, right? So how much should my emergency fund be? It depends from person to person and what life stages we are in. For someone who doesn't have any financial dependence, it can be anywhere between 3 to 6 months of living expenses. But for someone who has financial dependence, like young kids or elderly parents or a spouse who is financially dependent, it can be anywhere between 6 to 12 months of living expenses. I would say it better be 12 months, especially in scenarios like nowadays. We are experiencing, trying times now. So it will differ from person to person, but if we know what our requirements are, what do I spend on a monthly basis, I can plan to put together some 6 to 12 months of emergency fund to cater to my requirements, should there be any sudden job loss or any income loss for a significant period of time. Also, once I've accumulated the fund, or where do I save it once I have the fund, or even while saving it, or where do I put it, where do I keep it. We can again divide it into three buckets. A small portion of it we can always keep as cash at home handy. Why I say that is because, I never know when I might need that cash. What if it's an emergency that doesn't even allow me to, run out to an ATM and withdraw cash? And this is especially required for people who have young kids or elderly parents. It's always advisable to keep some spare cash handy at home. Another portion of it we can keep in a bank FD. And guys, we can choose for a sweep in FD rather than going for a regular FD to earn some extra interest on that money till the time we don't use it. And the third part of it, we can keep in a liquid fund. Okay, so these are the three ways or the three places where we can save our emergency fund. So this is our first pillar of financial security, having an emergency fund. The next pillar is a term insurance. So guys, what is a term insurance? It is an insurance policy that I buy and I pay a very small amount of sum on a monthly basis. And it can be for a period of 50 years, 20 years, 50 years, even 75 years. It's up to me for how long I want to continue the policy, but I will have to pay that small sum every month till the policy continues. And in the event of my death, my family will get a lump sum of payment from the insurer. So this is term insurance. And guys, this is not an investment. So in case I survive the policy period, I or my family, we are not going to get back the money. But it is always good to have a term insurance if one is an earning member of a family and has financial dependence. If I am not an earning member of my family, I will not need a term insurance. Okay. And also, I'm earning, but I do not have any financial dependence. I do not have kids, or my parents are not financially dependent on me. I will not need a term insurance. The second point I wanted to cover in the term insurance is the difference between this category of insurance and the traditional life insurance life insurance policies. So guys, traditional LIC policies, the most common life insurance policies we all are aware about, they kind of mix investments with insurance. And if we take a closer look at them, the sum assured is often not even enough to fully cater to my family's financial future in case of my death. And if we actually sit down and calculate the rate of return, it's very poor. It's very low. So is it not better if I stick to a term insurance, and for investment, I direct the money to other and better investment avenues that will generate more returns for me? So that is something I want you guys to think about. And the third point is, how much should a term insurance cover be? So, as far as I've studied, experts say that it should be at least 25 times the current annual expenses of the family, and no less than that. I can go more than that if I want, if I am able to pay a higher premium, but it should not be lesser than 25 times my family's annual expenses. And I know that today, if I want to get a term insurance of say 1 crore rupees, I can easily get it for a monthly premium of 1,000 rupees. But as I age, the premium will become higher for me. Okay, so that is the second pillar of financial security, a term insurance. And the third pillar, guys, is something we all are very familiar with. It's having a health insurance policy. Why is a health insurance required? Well, with healthcare costs are becoming so high nowadays, what if I suddenly fall ill and I need to be admitted to a hospital, or I need to undergo a surgery? if I do not have a health insurance to cover for the medical costs, I might have to divert the funds that I have allocated to meeting my financial goals. And now I am diverting those funds to cater to my medical or healthcare expenses. My financial plan is going to get derailed. So that's why it is a must to have a health insurance. For those of us who are employed, most offices, corporate offices at least, have a health insurance policy that they offer to employees. But still, one must have their own personal health insurance policy too. We can start with a basic policy coverage of 5 lakh rupees if we do not have any financial dependence or small kids. But if I have a family, I live in a joint family, I can also go for a family cover. You know, there are various sum insured available under various policies. It can be a 10 lakh cover, and then I can go for some additional riders per my need. So it varies. There are a basket of additional riders available that we can choose from. And how can we select a plan? Nowadays, it's very easy. There are websites like Policy Bazaar where we have the option to compare various policies and select the one that's best suited to our needs. Once we've selected a plan, we can either buy from Policy Bazaar or we can go directly to the insurer. Like if I choose to get a healthcare plan from ICICI, I can either I can either buy it via Policy Bazaar agents, or I can directly go to ICICI website and buy it online. So that's my third pillar of financial security, or health insurance. So guys, why building these 3 pillars is important? We all must have got an idea by now. Without building these 3 pillars, it is not advisable to start on an investment journey, because no matter how good my financial plan is, if it is not supported by these pillars, more likely than not, it will get derailed eventually. But if I have these pillars already, I am all set to start investing. Okay, so with that, we move to the interesting part, that is investing. Before I start discussing this, I just want to ask this question. So guys, what is the 8th wonder of the world? Can any of you share? What is the 8th wonder of the world?
Compounding.
Exactly, bang on. So Albert Einstein has said that the 8th wonder of the world is the power of compounding. And when it comes to investments, compounding can do magic. So to illustrate this, let us look at the simple example. Say I start with 1 lakh of rupees today. Okay, I have 1 lakh rupees and I invest it in a way that my money gets doubled in 5 years. Okay, so I'm starting with 1 lakh. 5 years down the line, my money is becoming from 1 to 2 lakhs. In 10 years, it will become 4 lakhs. In 15 years, it will become 8 lakhs. In 20 years, it is going to become 16 lakhs. And in 25 years, it's going to become 32 lakhs. So I started with 1 lakh, and at the end of 25 years, I have 32 lakhs in my kitty. So guys, why I wanted to take this example is to illustrate that, the longer I stay invested, the more the power of compounding will work on my money and make it grow. So let's say I had 1 lakh, and as soon as my money got doubled, 2 lakhs, I pulled my money out and stopped investing. So my money would have stayed 2 lakhs or grown by very little. But the longer I'm staying invested, the more my money is growing. And that is the power of compounding. So now guys, we have our financial plan, right? We have our pillars of financial security all set. Now let's look at the various avenues we have to invest the money to reach our financial goals. And each of these avenues comes with a certain risk factor associated with it. And the only way to mitigate the risk is to be informed about my goals, the time horizon that I have, and my own risk appetite as an investor. Okay, so let's look at what all different avenues we have. I've categorized them in three broad groups. First is fixed income avenues. Uh, these would be, our bank accounts, saving accounts, FDs, RDs, etc. As the name suggests, they are fixed income instruments. That is, they assure me a fixed rate of return. I am putting in this money, and after a certain period of time, I am going to get a certain amount as per the various interest rates applicable. So that is why they are called fixed income instruments. And the rates I've captured here are post-COVID rates. They used to be a bit higher pre-COVID, but to be on the safer side, I deliberately kept them a bit lower. So fixed income will fetch me anywhere around 3 to 6% of returns of interest. Next category is equity-based mutual funds. Now, if I invest my money in equity-based mutual funds, I am going to get somewhere around 10 to 12% of returns. And the third category is equity, investing directly in equity, that is buying shares of companies. And this category gives me the highest rate of return, that is 20 to 25%. Let us look at the risk profile also. Fixed income comes with very little risk. I won't say that it has no risk, because there is a bit of risk involved there also. We all know, bank scams that have come to light these days. So, is my money that's lying in the bank, is it even safe? Can I say it's 100% safe? So there is a bit of risk that's involved in fixed income instruments also, but of all the categories of investment, this one comes with the least bit of risk. Let's look at it that way. Mutual funds is, also fixed income is low risk and low return. Okay, mutual funds, this is moderate risk and moderate return. Because guys, there is always a certain amount of risk and volatility that comes with any equity-based investment instrument. And if I put my money in an equity-based mutual fund, it will generate moderate interest for me, and it will also come with slightly higher risk than fixed income, but also lesser risk than investing directly in equity. Because I'm hedging my risk. I'm clubbing my money with many other investors, and there is, an asset manager who's managing the funds for all of us. That's how mutual funds work, right? So the third category, equity, it fetches the highest return, but it also comes with the highest risk. So guys, how will I choose which investment instrument suits my goals? So, what I'm sharing with you guys, it's a very generic idea, and it's not absolute. It depends from person to person and their own risk appetite. But say if my goal is a couple of years away, if it's a short-term goal, I will stay away from equity-based instruments and focus more on fixed income. I will keep my money, I will park my money there, because I don't have much time at hand to reach that goal. So I would rather not deal with the risk and the volatility that comes with equity, because there is no time. In case my money goes down, in case I lose some money, I do not have much time to stay invested to recover the losses. I hope that makes sense, and feel free to stop me anytime and ask questions if anything is not clear at all. If it were me and I have a goal that is 3 to 5 years away, so I might choose to invest my money in an equity-based mutual fund, a balanced fund to be specific. And if my goal is 10 years or more than 10 years away, like building a retirement fund for myself, I will choose to invest my money in equity, because I have so many years to stay invested. And the longer, in case of equity investments, the longer I stay invested, the more are the chances that I beat the risk and the volatility and reap high returns. So if I do not have that kind of time horizon, I should stay away from equity. But on the other hand, staying away from equity, I also, incur the risk of my money not growing at a pace that beats inflation, because moderate level of inflation is 7 to 8%. And as you can see, only equity based instruments are giving me returns high enough to beat inflation. So if I stay away from equity, my money also loses its purchase power. So I have to keep all that in mind while deciding which instruments I will choose from. Also, I have to know myself as an investor. What is my risk profile? As a thumb rule, they say that 100 minus my age should be the percentage of my funds that should be allocated to equity. So I'm 33. So I can say that going by this rule, around 60% of my money should be in equity. But if as an investor, I am okay to take more risk because, I have many years at hand and my retirement is still 10, 15, 20 years away. So I say I'll go ahead and invest 70%. That's my choice. And I can also say that no, I'm a cautious investor and I do not want to take that risk. So I'll do 50-50. 50% I'll park in equity and 50% I'll stick to safer instruments. That's also my choice because it's my money and no one knows the value of the money better than me. So that's why, guys, I say that no financial planner can make a better financial plan for myself other than me, because I know my needs, I know my risk profile or risk appetite, and I know the kind of time I have at hand to reach my financial goals. And the only way to beat risk is to be informed. I would say, before knowing or reading or studying an instrument thoroughly, we should not put our money there. Going by someone's tip, someone said, that stock is selling very well or that mutual fund is doing very well, and we just go ahead and park our money there without even studying that or finding out. Because if we want to get information, there are multiple channels available nowadays. Information is easily available. And guys, I know this seems a little, when I talk about all this and doing it all by myself might seem a little, I might get scared that ये तो बहुत ज़्यादा है and मेरे से नहीं होगा. So in that case, if we need help, there are always community. 1 year ago, I joined this community of women investors, a wonderful community called Women on Wealth. I've done 2 of their courses. One is on personal finance and the other is on stock investing. And I've been a member of the community ever since. So, what it has done for me is that it's given me the confidence and the ability to create a financial plan for myself and also to decide what path or what instruments will I use. I know exactly where I want to invest my money to reach my goals. So doing it with a group of people is sometimes, or, often more than not, it's helpful to make me, capable of gathering information, of studying, or of making that decision, which I might be scared to make if I were on my own. So if possible, do visit Women on Wealth's Facebook page. They keep doing a lot of live sessions and it's very informative, guys. So I would like to do a recap to today's session by, asking these questions as a call to action. And I want all of you to think about it and see where we want to go financially, where we see ourselves financially, and what actions are showing up for us. The first question is, do you have a financial plan? If not, let's start making one today. Second question, do you have SMART financial goals? The third question is, which pillars of financial security do you need to build? And if you have already built a financial plan, goals, and have all the pillars of financial security intact, then guys, let us start saving, investing, and let us realize our goals. So I would like to end the session by, displaying this quote. It's one of my favorite quotes, and it should also give us some food for thought. So Thank you. Thank you for making time and giving me the opportunity to contribute to you today. Thank you, Vivek sir, for inviting me to take the session. And if there are any questions at all, do let me know or type them in the chat box, and I'll do my best to answer them. So I'll stop sharing my screen, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Malavika, for a very informative session.
Thank you, sir.
Like, I have a question. In the beginning, you mentioned about sweeping FD. So, can you explain something about that? What exactly is that?
Okay, sure, sir. So every bank account gives us the facility to have fixed deposits, right? So a sweep in FD is essentially similar to a fixed deposit, but the only difference is how I would set up a sweeping FD is most of the banks nowadays let me open give this facility. So while opening a sweep in FD, I can fill out this form online, and where I have to designate a minimum balance that I would want to retain in my savings account. Say I put the value of 20,000 rupees. Okay. Now what will happen is whenever my bank balance goes higher than 20,000 rupees, the money will automatically be swept into an FD. I will not have to do it myself. So this way I am automating it. Also, I have the facility of easy withdrawal. If say I'm withdrawing money, say the minimum balance is 20,000 and I have a sweep in FD already made of 5,000 rupees. And one day I have the need to withdraw cash and I withdraw 21,000. What will happen? 20,000 will come from the savings account and the 1,000 will come from the FD. That FD will get automatically broken. There is a small penalty, I think very small penalty. But it's always good to go for this option if it's available in the bank, so that my idle money that I don't need to withdraw, that can fetch me an additional interest. So this is what I meant by a sweep in FD.
Thanks, Malavika.
So while that 1,000 is taken away from the FD, the remaining 9,000 will remain to be in the FD, right?
So the 9,000 is cash lying in my bank. It's the minimum balance that I have specified. So that's not in the FD. That's still lying there, 19,000. That's the minimum balance. So the FD will again get made when I deposit, say I'm depositing 6,000 rupees. So 1,000 from that will come and get added to the 19,000 and it'll become 20,000, the minimum balance that's required. And the additional 5,000 will go automatically be swept into an FD.
Okay, all right. Okay. Thank you.
Ushra ma'am, you wanted to ask something?
I think Abhishek has asked you a question.
Yeah, Bushra, you are on mute. I think you have to unmute yourself.
Meanwhile, Malavika, you have a question from Abhishek.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So Malavika,
yes, ma'am.
Actually, I couldn't resist complimenting you. Actually, you know what? This is the weakest point, the financial planning or something. This is something I do not touch at all. So that is, I'm really scared of. But this right now, I just want to compliment Malavika as somebody. I've seen Malavika as somebody, a timid, small girl, you know, a copy editor. I never saw this face of her. And today, when I see her presenting with such confidence, really, I'm proud of you, Malavika. You've done so well.
So
I have seen you're the best financial consultant I have ever met, I think. So
thank you so much, ma'am.
3 cheers for me. I'm really, really happy, proud of you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I think
that
everybody would have felt this, because simply in a very simple way you have, you know, explained everything, and it was so easy to understand.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Great,
that coming from you, it actually means a lot to me. And ma'am, trust me, I have learned from my mistakes. So I
Yeah,
said
fine.
that I've been working for the past 10 years, and the first 8 years of my professional life, I did not have any financial plan. I
Mhm.
did not know where I was going. I was earning money. I was a saver, so I was saving it, but my money was not showing up in my life. So,
I'm like that till now. I don't know what I'm doing with my money. I just know how to work. That's all I do.
so, ma'am, my call for action for you would be to, take charge of your money. Start today.
Okay. Something, it's really, I'm really proud of you, Malavika. I'm again saying this to you.
Thank you, ma'am. It, it,
Yeah, Bushra, I agree. It was like one of the best presentations we have had in our ICF series. And
Yes,
and actually, Women on Wealth, which Malavika mentioned, and of which she is a part.
yes.
So the founder of that community, Priyanka Bhatia, she had done a session for us, but
Okay.
unfortunately, on that day we had some connectivity issues,
Okay.
and Malubika, you like was a backup that I used that day, and seeing
Mhm.
her confidence that day itself,
Yes.
then I invited her to do an independent session.
Okay. So you had seen Malavika earlier also.
Yeah, as part of that session we had
That
with
session. Okay.
Priyanka
Okay.
Bhatia.
I never expected this, Malavika, truly.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And as
Yes.
Vivek sir said, that I owe a lot to the Women on Wealth community also,
Mm-hmm.
because when I joined them, I was not in a very good position financially. I had
Mm-hmm.
a couple of personal loans. I had this home loan. I also had a couple of loans on my LIC policies, and I
Mm-hmm.
was not very happy where I found
Mm-hmm.
myself financially at that point of time.
Okay.
And I wanted to come out of that situation. And that I realized can only happen when I start, you know, taking things in my own hand. Like
Right.
I had to have a financial plan to come out
Mm-hmm.
of it. I was
Mm-hmm.
earning well. So my
Mm-hmm.
question was, why is not my money showing up for me? I'm in a
Yes.
good, well-paying job. So there must be something that I need to do differently. So
Right.
yeah. And thank you so much for your kind words, ma'am. And Vivek, sir,
Thank you.
it's only because you gave me the opportunity that I could present and I could contribute.
Yes, we should find people like this because there are hidden uh, people with hidden potential. We don't know, and we should find out from
Yeah,
the ICF community.
yeah,
And
that is why we have started this series, and like
yes,
members are presenting, we really don't need to look outside when
yes,
inside the community we have
yes.
the
And it may
resources.
not only be about the work we do. This can be something different, like something related to stress, something related to various other things. So we can discuss here, and whoever has the strength can showcase and help contribute.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. That way we can leverage the community, leverage the
Yes,
information
yes,
that's already there in the community.
yes, yes.
Malubika, there is a question by Abhishek.
Right.
Could
Okay.
you please
So,
name the three financial pillars again?
right. Sure, Abhishek. So the three financial pillars would be number one, an emergency fund. Okay, that is a must. Without having an emergency fund, it is not advisable at all to start investing, especially in equity. So that is the number one pillar. Number two is a term insurance. You would need a term insurance, A, if you're an earning member of the family, and B, if you have financial dependence. Okay. And the third financial pillar would be having a health insurance. That's a must. So these are the three pillars.
Uh, for the
Hi, Malubika. Sorry, sir, Nveta here.
yeah,
Hey,
Nivedita,
Nivedita.
So I had
please
a question. I had a
Yeah,
question from
yeah.
Malubika.
Sure. Go ahead,
Malubika, I
Nivedita.
have just started my career. Yeah, I've just started my career as a copy editor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've just started earning.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have a question from you that suppose a job profile in this era, but
Mm-hmm.
suppose if I lose a job
Mm-hmm.
or a job profile is not suiting my health. So how can I be how can I utilize my money so that I don't be financially dependent on someone like my parents if I
Mm-hmm.
lose a job or
Right.
if I quit a
Right.
job.
So, Nivedita, I would tell you I've been there. I started as a copy editor myself, and I would also tell you the mistakes that I have made. So, my advice to you would be also to start putting together an emergency fund. no matter how much you earn, allocate a percentage of it towards your emergency fund and spend only after you've saved. Like, we have to reverse this mindset. What happens traditionally is that we think that, okay, पैसा आया है अभी हम खर्च करेंगे and जो बच जाएगा उसमें से we'll save and invest. So we'll have to reverse that mindset that, I got my salary and this is the percentage or this is the amount that I will straight away transfer to another account that I have designated for an emergency fund. And जो बचेगा मैं उसी में से खर्च करूँगी. Okay?
And
That
this COVID session has taught us pretty well that we just need one pair of 2 pairs of clothes, and
exactly, ma'am.
we don't need much. We don't actually need much, so we can save.
Right. And Nivedita, I'll also say that, it's good for you because you're just starting your career, and for you to be, able to put together an emergency fund all by yourself. Once you accumulated a corpus, you would see the huge boost of confidence you will get out of it. So just try saving a lakh of rupees and you'll see. So there's a quote I read somewhere that, self-worth, in a book by Susie Orman, I think, she has written a book called Women and Money. That's a book we've read in our book club. So I read a quote that self-worth is somehow directly proportional to the net worth.
Yeah.
So that, kind of resonated with me. So Nivedita, start today. Take charge today. Don't make the mistakes I have made. I waited for 8 years. Don't wait. Just start.
Okay. Thank you.
I would like to add a couple of points to this wonderful discussion.
Sure.
First of all, you are such a wonderful planner because, as you said, I am going to, stop this discussion. It was 40 minutes from the beginning. So you have ideally planned for a 40-minute Zoom live session, it looks like. And, the introduction part and then discussions, everything went according to the plan. So that shows that you are already a wonderful planner. And next is, I was an in-house, manager for a good period of time. And I train a lot of new editors who come to, who join. Okay, so one of the sessions that we took was on financial planning. Okay, so we spent 1 hour and talking about various, the need for savings, because people think that, this was way back in 2007-8. So their salary could be somewhere in 10, 11, 12K. So they say this is very, very low to start saving. So we say you can start with 500 rupees, exactly what Shweta Bharti told the chat that I can see here. It is not about how much you are investing. It is about habit of starting investing. That is the most
exactly important. That's very true, sir. That's very true. And that also helps in building the mindset of, saving and then investing, because investing can happen only if I save. If I have no savings at all, then what will I invest? So thank you, sir, for adding that point. Yeah, that's a very valid point.
And Malavika, adding to that, your passion, that is rock painting. So I connect more to that. So I'm really happy that you're doing that also as a part of your, So
that just gives me happiness. Yeah.
Yes. So I connect very with that, because I myself I'm very basically my this is my strength. I was I could do 2 things together. One is painting, and other thing that science. So at some point of time, I used to think that I should I should make it my business, the art as my business, and do science sideways. But it did not happen, because that time parents will not expect you to become an artist.
Yeah.
So in this era, you let your children do what they want, but that time no. So I think that I should have continued that.
You can do it right now, ma'am.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
I do it as my
Never too late
hobby.
to start.
Bilkul.
Yeah, I know that.
Bilkul
So
sahi, Divya.
painting is something which is very close to my heart.
Art is just something that gives people happiness, ma'am.
Yeah,
The one that creates it, also the people that look at it.
Yeah,
It
I got
has this.
national level prize also, gold medal once. Yeah. So I was just thinking that I didn't learn it anywhere, but I was doing so I could have learned it and I could have pursued.
You can
You
still do,
can,
Bushra. You
yes,
can
Yes,
yes,
still
you
do.
can
yes,
still pursue it.
yes.
You could
So
take
that will
classes, you
give
could
me
teach
happiness.
us.
I think that will give me
Yes,
more happiness than doing science.
The one
go
should
for it,
always
ma'am.
one should always go for happiness.
Yes,
Yes, I know.
Happiness
Yeah.
comes first.
Yes.
exactly.
So I'm happy for
And
Special,
that,
yeah,
special.
for rock painting.
Yeah.
yeah. Malobika actually painted two rocks for my kids, and
Okay.
she has also done the
That
ICF logo,
I
which you
say.
would have seen on
Oh,
my tape.
that is by you,
Oh,
Malubika.
Yes,
wonderful.
Oh, wonderful.
We
That's
look
beautiful.
forward to that.
thank you.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
Okay, there is a message by Neetu. I could use a session on how to make time for creative work while doing all that we have to do.
Okay.
Good.
So, Malobika, how will you answer that? So,
Uh,
basically,
so
I think what she is saying, maybe we are
time
overworked.
management.
Yeah, time management.
Hmm.
Mm.
Uh, so I haven't really given it a thought on how to explain it to someone else. But now that Anita has asked that question, I'm just thinking out aloud. I've gotten so used to scheduling everything on my calendar. That helps, because if
Yeah.
I only rely on my memory, there are more chances that I'll miss something. But if I have it on my calendar, I get a pop-up on my mobile phone. So scheduling things, and that's also something I keep telling everybody at my home, that put it on your calendar, put it on your calendar, even if it's a small activity, it's a personal activity. If I don't
Yes.
have it on my calendar, I might miss it.
Same thing. I also do. I also do this. I'll what I do, that to-do list. So on the left hand side, I have my routine work, means something related to my editing work, and on the right hand side, I'll have the home front things. So because when you're working as a woman, you're responsible, you cannot segregate your responsibilities. While doing this, you have other responsibilities also. So
Yeah.
I can see two things at the same time. So on the left hand side, I always have my regular work, and the right hand side with this. And I always write, because you just cannot take the pressure of everything in your mind. And it's really important that you write everything, so you
Exactly.
Yeah.
can have a good sleep.
Exactly. It takes that burden off your
Yeah.
mind once you
Yes.
sit and think.
Yeah,
Yes.
Malubika, there is a question by Manisha. She is asking, from where can we start learning equity instrument of investment?
So, Manisha, I would invite you to, look at Women on Well's Facebook page. And if you're interested in learning further, I could connect you to Women on Well's co-founder, Priyanka Bhatia. She has been my mentor into the world of personal finance. And, you'll get an entire community of women investors who will handhold you and provide the kind of mentorship you might need. So, feel free to reach out to me. I'll share my phone number here. Feel free to reach out to me.
Uh,
Can you please share the link also, Malabika?
Sure, I'll do that, ma'am. Give me a
All
minute.
right.
Malabika,
Hmm?
Divya,
Yes, Divya, ma'am.
does the ICICI Bank also provide that sweep in FD?
It should. ICICI Bank should. It's a reputed bank. It's a private bank, and it should. HDFC Bank does. I know. Yes, Bank does. Even
Okay.
SBI has this facility. So ICICI
Okay.
Bank must have.
Mm-hmm.
So
Malubika, I had checked with them a few days, not a few days, a few months back, like before the
mm-hmm,
lockdown.
mm-hmm,
And they said that previously they had this facility,
mm-hmm,
but now they have stopped it. And as you rightly said, HDFC Bank does allow.
mm-hmm.
So maybe if our particular bank is not allowing, we can open a new account.
Yeah, sure. That's always an option, because SBI, which is a government bank, my father has a sweep in account in SBI. So Yes.
Because it's always better to get like a better rate of interest for the
Exactly.
excess cash.
Exactly, because if it's that idle cash, my idle money, it's lying there and I don't even need it for some time. So why not earn some extra interest on that? Definitely, sir.
So,
And
Malabika, will we have the
Sanjay?
option to choose the period for which we can buy the sweep in FD?
Yes, ma'am, you'll have. There's an option. Like you do when you do a regular FD, you get an option to choose the number of years. Here also you can do that.
All right, all right. We'll definitely check the HDFC site for that.
Mhm.
So,
Sure.
yeah, Malavika, for the emergency fund, you had mentioned like three things where we should keep that emergency fund. One was cash. So can you repeat the other two?
So, three avenues, sir. One is cash, not much, but a small amount of cash, ready cash, handy at home. The other one was a sweep in FD. And the third category was liquid funds. Liquid funds are a category of debt mutual funds.
Thanks,
What-
Malavika.
Yeah.
Malabika,
this-
when you
but-
say
Malavika, yeah, this debt mutual funds that you have mentioned. So
Mhm.
this will be done through mutual funds, some SIP kind of thing.
Yes, sir. So we can either do a lump sum investment or an SIP, but it is always advisable to go with SIP. Even if I have the lump sum money, if I break it down in trenches and invest it bit by bit rather than putting the lump sum in. So it's better to go via that route.
Okay.
Malabika, I have another question. You
Ji, ma'am.
just said that we need to keep some ready amount of cash at home. So how do we define what could be the emergency cash we may need? We don't know till the emergency strikes in.
So, ma'am, as a rule of thumb, again, nothing is absolute, but as a rule of thumb, if I have financial dependence on me, like small kids or elderly parents who depend on me financially, it's always advisable to have at least 6 to 12 months of living expenses in an emergency fund. It earlier used to be 6 to 8 months, but ever since COVID has happened, experts are saying that go for 12 months. Just don't take that risk of running out of money in case there is a sudden job loss.
So does that mean that all that amount has to be kept in cash?
No, it's not advisable. No.
So my question was related only to cash. How much cash?
So,
Because we are using plastic money nowadays. So how much
Right.
cash should be kept at home?
So, ma'am, it's difficult to put an exact figure to it because it will differ from person to person. But I would say enough cash to tide me through the period where I am not able to go out and withdraw money from an ATM. बस उतने
Alright.
देर तक मेरा काम चल जाए. हाँ.
ठीक है. So approximately it can be some 20,000 or so.
Ma'am, I would say go by a percentage, right? अगर आपका emergency fund say X amount का है, so allocate a percentage of it rather than allocating an amount.
All right.
Percentage allocate कर दो.
ठीक है.
10% या 15% मैं cash में रखूंगी and
Okay.
then X% FD में and the rest.
All
So
right.
you could plan it like that.
All right. All right.
Okay, Malavika, another question from Kora
Mhm.
Bhatia. How much is the interest rate on liquid funds?
So liquid funds, I know the last time I had read, I don't have an exact figure right now. I can't comment upon that, but I do know that they fetch slightly higher than FDs.
Okay.
Yeah. And
What
another,
exactly is meant by liquid fund? I thought it was some kind of sweeping FD only. No.
No, ma'am. Liquid funds are a category of debt mutual funds. If you search this term up online, a liquid fund, you will find a lot of reading material and resources that will explain exactly what they are and how they function.
Okay.
So the two prime advantages of a liquid fund is that A, it fetches me slightly higher interest rates than an FD, and two, it is liquid, as the term says. I can withdraw my money anytime without a penalty. I think there's an initial after an initial period of 30 days or so. Again, I can't be very sure of that. It's been some time since I've studied liquid funds. But yeah, they do give me the option of liquidity. I do not pay a heavy penalty if I withdraw my money.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Nivedita, she's asking, please suggest the kind of mutual funds or companies that are doing well, or is it the same everywhere?
Nivedita, I cannot answer that question. You will have to find that out for yourself. You know, you have to have your financial goals first. You have to develop the pillars of financial security first, and then decide your own risk appetite as an investor. How much time horizon do you have? You know, all that has to be taken into account. And, you know, do your own study. Just commit some time. 1 ghanta every day I will study. I will find out. Okay? And I would also say that there is no best mutual fund, but there are resources. So that will help us in our study, should we plan to do so. And बिना पढ़ाई किए किसी के tip पे, even if I say that falana mutual fund is doing well and someone goes and blindly puts their money there, it's not advisable to do so. Okay.
Kora Bhatia wants to know what's the interest rate currently on FDs.
Currently on FD, it's close to 6.5. Yeah. Senior citizen FDs might fetch us a bit more, but that's that. Significantly.
I bought an FD this month only, in June only. It was on auto renewal. So it's giving just 5.5. Earlier it was 8.5. So
right.
that
so it might have
FD
reduced further, ma'am. The rates might, because you know, RBI is reducing repo rates periodically. So that's why I said that when I, you know, initially when I prepared the presentation, Vivek sir had invited me to do this a long time back. And the return rates for all the categories of investments were higher by 2 percentage points.
Oh.
But ever since the COVID situation has happened, today I'd gone ahead and, you know, reduced them by 2%.
Yeah.
Be it fixed income, be it mutual funds, and be it equity investments.
I know.
So that's the kind of effect COVID has had on.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next question is also related to COVID. With the current COVID situation, how much should one still stay invested in mutual funds? When is the right time to withdraw part of it?
So it depends on, you know, what goal I am planning to fulfill. Why have I even invested in the mutual fund in the first place? I must have a goal in mind. So the only time to withdraw an investment is when I've reached the goal. Okay. So I've already reached the goal. So I start withdrawing systematically. As there is something called SIP, there is something called STP. SIP is systematic investment plan. STP is systematic, or SWP, sorry, not STP, SWP, systematic withdrawal plan. So when I'm reaching my financial goal, I systematically start withdrawing money from an equity-based mutual fund and, you know, start transferring it into a fixed income. That is one. The second point when I should withdraw my money is when the investment vehicle has deteriorated in quality. So when I studied it and when I put my money in, it might have been a very good fund, but I have to constantly monitor the situation, you know, at least twice a year, and see how it is doing as compared to other funds in the same category. For a period of time, if it is not doing well, whereas other funds in the same category are giving superior returns, then I might think of withdrawing money.
Okay. Next question is from Manisha. I have a UTI Children Growth Fund which we invested for a long time goal for the future of our child, but it's not performing well. Since the time I have invested, it has gone in negative. So do you suggest discontinuing it, or should I wait till it gets better?
I would suggest that you first compare the returns that your fund is generating with a couple of funds from the same category, you know, and see, is the entire category of UTI Children Growth Funds not doing so well? Then it might be something related to the current atmosphere. But if, you know, all other funds are doing well and it is only this particular fund that is not giving returns and it has continued for more than 2 years, it is not giving returns, then you might think of it. Manisha, that was your question, right? So do we have any other questions? And have I missed any questions at all? sir?
No, I have tried to cover whatever was in the chat box.
Hmm. And I've shared my phone numbers and Women on Wealth's FB page. And if at all there is interest, I can also share Priyanka Bhatia's number. So you have it. So
Yeah, I have
someone
it.
wants to directly get in touch with her, they can. Dipali has raised hand, is what I can see. Okay.
Yeah, maybe she has a question.
Yeah, Dipali, please go ahead.
This is the best. How do I choose the best SIP basically?
So Dipali, totally depends on what is your goal. How, is it a long-term goal? Is it a
So
short-term?
basically a long-term goal. When perhaps let me say it this way: if I want to save for my daughter who's now 10 years old, if I want to save for her 18th year, maybe when she would get into her
Right.
college years. If I have to save for them, which SIP would you suggest? How
You
do
should,
we choose it?
for this particular goal, since it is 8 years away, Dipali, you could consider equity-based mutual funds,
Okay.
since it is a long-term goal.
Mhm.
And it is difficult to say what is the best fund in this category. There are various funds, and there are 3 to 4 funds you would, if you go to websites like Value Research online or even Money Control, you can, select or shortlist funds, compare their returns across years, and then make a decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Malubika, you had mentioned about the power of compounding being the eighth wonder of the world.
So that's Albert Einstein. That's not me.
No, in
I
the
borrowed.
in the presentation you mentioned about that.
Yes.
So when we consider the power of compounding, like what do you think about the PPF option for freelancers, because they don't have the normal PF
Exactly.
option?
That's an excellent question, sir. PPF, in the absence of an EPF, PPF I think is a very good option for self-employed or freelancers. PPF used to fetch a return of close to 8.6% a year ago, and it would double my money in 15 years if I look at the calculations. But recently, in light of the current COVID scenario, PPF returns, PPF interest rates have also come down. So it is close to 7% now, I think. I might be wrong, but it's close to 7%, and it is supposed to go down further. But still, in the absence of an EPF, if one has an EPF, then one should stick to it, or even bump up the contribution in EPF. If not, then PPF is the next best option.
Yeah, because I feel that there is an advantage of compounding.
Exactly.
Second, you can invest a minimum of 500. Like even if you invest just 500 in the entire year, your account is active.
Yes.
And once the 15 years is complete, you can still go for an extension of 5 years in block. So
yes. And also, sir, what PPF does is that it brings on a forced discipline, because it is not allowing me to withdraw the money, whenever I feel like, okay, main jaun aur main paisa withdraw kar lu. It's not giving me that option. So it's forcing a sort of discipline on me once I've started investing. And it's a very good option to go for if one does not have a EPF already.
So I think one of the things that we could have done in the presentation, or maybe beforehand, or maybe we should do later, is to have some kind of a poll and try to see where people are actually investing.
Right.
So if you do if you do a presentation later, maybe you can build in some polls where when it comes to this term insurance kind of thing, how many people actually have it. Because I bought my first policy when I was 32. And yesterday, or maybe a couple of days before, I was talking to someone who I don't know whether he's still in the meeting. He's 45. He doesn't have an insurance.
You were very prudent that way, sir. You were aware of your financial needs, and you made the right decision at the right time.
No, but I still feel doing it at 32, I was late. I should have done it earlier.
Yes. That's what everyone feels, you know.
But
I
now
too feel.
but when I was talking to like that particular person, he is 45, he hasn't done it yet.
Mm.
So maybe
There's a
that
lack
way,
of awareness, sir.
yeah,
It's not that we don't want to, but it's just that, you know, personal finance is not something that we are taught in schools, but we should, I think.
yeah, yeah.
Nobody teaches us how to do taxes. Nobody teaches us how to plan for our finances. Why? Because, you know, the goal is not to just earn. So just earning and spending is not going to lead us anywhere. We also have to, you know how to make the money grow, how to
Yeah,
save, how to invest.
yeah, that way we will keep on working forever. That retirement will never come if we don't have a retirement fund or if we don't have
Yeah,
all these financial goals.
exactly.
Because we should have spare time at hand to
Right.
do what we actually want to do.
Exactly. And sir, I would cite a personal example here because there is lack of, you know, financial awareness or financial education. Our parents, my father was in a government job, so he knew that at his retirement he would get a certain amount of money, so this retirement corpus. And at the time when he was still working, that seemed like a huge amount. Okay, so he did not plan for any further investments other than that. But by the time he retired, that amount had lost its purchasing power. Right? Inflation had eaten into it, and suddenly it doesn't look like that big an amount. And then you're also at an advanced age. Your, you know, working capacity has reduced. You want to have some, you know, spare time or just rest, relax, spend time with family. And then again, because of this, he was forced to continue working for 10 more years. I saw that happening in my own family with my own father because he could not afford to retire even though he had retired.
So maybe now that we have the awareness and knowledge, we can try and make things easier for ourselves and
Exactly.
even for our kids. Like I
Yes.
attended
True.
a session by Priyanka in which she was talking about the monthly income post office scheme,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
that actually gives us an option where we can open an account for our kids. Like
exactly. Yes.
if they are 10 years of age, so we can act as a guardian and we can invest some money on their behalf. So that way we can even educate our kids about
Mm-hmm.
the importance of money,
Mm-hmm.
and by the time they are 18 they will have a sizable amount of money to take care of their future needs, whether it's like education or marriage or other things.
Exactly. And it's a
True.
very way to teach financial awareness to kids by giving them
Yeah,
that option. And post office does have some very good schemes if one chooses to invest in them.
yeah, the only disadvantage is that okay, right now it's not available online, so you have to go to the
Hmm.
post office and
Office
do
and
it.
do it. I have a feeling, sir, that they might very soon start to have this facility online because as we are seeing that this might be the new norm. You know, who knows when physical meetings will start happening again. So till that time, I think I have a feeling that even post office is going to make that facility available online so that people can do it from the ease of their home, just like we do in other banks.
Yeah, because that is actually one of the barriers. We get so caught up with work that we don't get the time to go to the bank or the post office. We want to do it online, and if the option is available then we will certainly like opt for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So the sooner it happens the better it's going to be for us. And
Yeah.
it was a great session.
Thank
Yeah.
you, sir.
Very nice.
1 hour 15 minutes. The best part was nobody left the meeting, because sometimes it happens when we go over time people start leaving, but we like everyone has been listening very attentively. They are interested, they have been asking interesting questions, and
Mm. This is an interesting session. So we kept glued to the screens.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. And thank you, Divya ma'am, and everyone for your kind words. And thank you for making time to attend this session and giving me the opportunity to contribute to it.
okay, so before we end I will like ask this last question. What are post office savings? That's what Pura is asking.
Mhm. So, post office may we have this option to open a savings account, just like we do in other banks. And from that, once we have the savings account, we can choose to invest in a lot of schemes. For example, as Vivek sir said, there is a monthly income scheme that's available For senior citizens, we have something called Senior Citizen Savings Scheme that we can avail via a post office. And there are many other such schemes. Even for kids, I think I haven't explored that option much, but even for youngsters, for financially dependent kids, we can start a savings account or investment accounts. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I keep saying it's the last question, but something comes up, and this is a question which even I want an answer to, because every day I'm bombarded with calls from the bank people. Sir, we are giving you a free credit card. There is no lifetime like annual membership or whatever, and I always say I don't need. So now Kanika has asked the same question: should I go for a credit card?
So, Vivek sir, I know when we get a credit card, our intention is to always use it only in case of an emergency. When I got a credit card for myself, that was my intention also. But more often than not, we are tempted to use it. So I would say, for someone who's just, who has not developed that kind of financial discipline, that they will not get tempted, till that time, one should stay away. If I absolutely know that I have built in that rigor, I've built in that muscle, that financial discipline in my spendings, and I have clearly demarcated my needs versus my wants, and I will absolutely not use it, to spend frivolously. Only then I should go for it. It's good to have one credit card at least, but I would say don't go for it if you do not have financial discipline, or if one has not built good financial habits, good money habits.
Malavika, if I can add a point to it, credit
Yes, sure.
are not for the weak-minded and for the impulsive buyers.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't
Either
have
of
put
them,
it in
please.
better words myself.
Because I have been a victim of using credit cards.
We all have, yeah.
So at one point of time, I had 6 credit cards, you won't believe.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Okay. And then I slowly, started using them, and I have 2 now. But I have seen the uses as well as the disadvantages of credit cards, both extreme levels.
Yeah.
I would strongly suggest that if you can live without credit cards, live without credit cards.
Exactly.
Please do live without credit cards.
Okay, to counter that argument, Murugraj and Malubika, Shweta Bharti, she is saying, I love to use my credit card only for my fixed monthly expenses because I love the cash returns and bonus points. And I love shopping online against the bonus points. So,
Yes.
Shweta, in this case, yeah, please go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
So, sir, in this case, I must congratulate Shweta that she has built in that kind of financial discipline in her spending habits, that she knows exactly what she will buy for, and she will not overspend. Is that right, Shweta?
I think she is on mute.
I wanted to underline the word.
Yes,
Discipline.
she said yes.
Yeah.
So discipline is the key word here, as Malavika rightly said.
Yeah, of course.
If you are disciplined enough, credit cards are a good servant to us. And as I said, for the weak-minded and for impulsive buyers, they are masters.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will finally end the session now. It was a great session, and again, I will say it was the best session we have had till now. And
It means a lot to me, sir. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
and maybe we will have sessions on finance in future also. On a particular aspect we can have, like whether on post office schemes or credit cards or other things. And before we end, I would like to ask Murugaraj to please tell us something about the next session, because it's again going to be related to finance and about some queries that freelancers always have, like what kind of company they should start, whether they should go for a single person company or a limited liability company or a private limited company. And they have a lot of questions about GST, like what are the implications of GST for freelancers? Should they register for GST? So Murugaraj, can you please elaborate more on the next session that he has kindly arranged with his auditor, Mr. Balu?
Yes, Vivek. Yes, as rightly said, Mr. Balu is my auditor, and he also turns out to be the husband of one of our ICF members, Rajalakshmi. So I have requested him that he address the next session on two aspects. One is about the choice of setting up a business. So whether it is a proprietorship business, which is the most rudimentary form of, put it in this way. So most rudimentary form of business, because you are registering yourself as a business. So you and the business are not separable. And then to partnership levels, and then one-person companies, and public and private limited companies. So which one is more suited to our needs? And if at all, should we register for a company? So that is one aspect of his address. The other part would focus on the GST. So when should one register for GST? So there is a norm that if your turnover is less than 20 lakhs, you don't have to register for GST. But there is also a question that if it is less than 20 lakhs, is it wrong to have a GST number? Okay, so what are the reasons and advantages of having a GST number, and when can we choose not to have it? So those are the two areas that Mr. Balu would address next week.
Okay, thanks, Murugaraj, and I hope he will be able to address some queries on taxes also.
Yes, of course. What we can do is we can start sharing a questionnaire, as we did a couple of weeks ago for I think for the second session, right? We asked our members to raise their questions in a common document, and then we collected it and shared it, right? So we can do a similar thing.
Yeah, it's always better to have questions beforehand, because that helps the presenter prepare and do the necessary groundwork and collect the necessary references, rather than ask questions at the end. So
Absolutely.
like the participants will be benefited more if they send us the questions beforehand. Yeah, and like Shweta, she can't unmute herself. She has like engaged her kid on TV to be able to attend this session, and she's saying it was worth it, and she will like to explore equity, but maybe she will have to attend some session on women on wealth to get more insights into it. So women on wealth is certainly going to get new members, that I'm very sure about, because we want women to take charge of their finances. It shouldn't be that they should leave it to someone else. Like it can be anyone. If they are like earning and they are like they need to take decisions about that money also.
Right.
Kanika, she's saying I attended this session along with my brother. So even though the participants number that we were seeing here, it was around 15. There were like someone with her kid, someone with her brother. So we had.
I'm so happy to know that, Vivek sir.
We had more than that, and that makes this day even more beautiful. Like we completed 5 years today.
Shweta's husband is also there.
Oh, great. I hope all of them could take some value from the session.
Yeah, of course. It was so interesting, and you presented it so well. You were so impressive.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to see you like that.
I'm happy to see you all also. It's been quite some time, Divya ma'am, since I've met you.
Yeah, of
Vivek
course.
sir, I've met last year. So Abushra ma'am, you all of you I've worked with earlier. I've learned so much from you all. So it's always good. I think it's a privilege for me to be able to contribute to you all today.
Yeah, it was very
an absolute privilege.
And definitely there are some things that I have not been investing in, so I'll definitely try those things.
So Malvika, we have Abhishek Chakrabarti also. If I'm not wrong, he's your brother?
Yes.
Okay. So it was good to have the family also join in.
Mm-hmm. I told him you must join in and support me in the session.
Okay.
Yeah, actually,
so he is also
in my calendar
the same
also.
field?
Yeah, great, Abhishek. Thank you.
He is also an editor, so.
All right.
She made me put this event on my calendar so that I do not forget to attend.
Yeah, you should support your sister. She is such a wonderful presenter. And
that's the benefit of having such a good planner, sister.
Yeah,
she's so good in planning, so that's why she supported you in planning the book well, Abhishek.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.